What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, OTB Nation? Welcome into episode number 366. Now you got a full leap year of episodes of OTB to listen to. Outside the Box podcast, the official Lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. And just in case you forgot, we are award nominated. We are honorably mentioned. We are number 9 NCAA ranked. And of course, we are viewable on that YouTube. It's KB and Deej coming at you. We got a loaded show, a show that will include some things that we, quite frankly, were not genuinely expecting or ready for. We might get a little real on this episode. But we're gonna dive into the NLL. The NLL Trade Deadline has come and gone. Christian Del Bianco gets his wish. We'll talk about the crazy trades that happened since the last time we recorded. We'll get into the week upcoming in the NLL, which might be one of the greatest schedules in terms of time slots of all time in NLL history. We will dive into the PLL free agency news, a little Japan, and obviously the big news that broke earlier this week. And we'll get into the college game as well. But before we get into everything, make sure you guys are following us on the socials across the board at OTB LaxPod. Whether it's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're on every goddamn platform known to man. So keep on following us on every social platform. You can follow Deej on Twitter at SCS_NextGreat. Follow Hoots at Hoot Sports Media. You can follow Chase at the PLL Pipeline, and you can follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the pod on Apple, Spotify. Leave us a 5-star review. Leave us a comment as well on Spotify, just like our boy Murph. Shout out to the boy. What a comment. What a comment, man. All that Murph. I felt that about math being hard. Died laughing at OTB after dark. Your haters are never doing more than you. Only reason they have the time. Keep it up. Shout out to Murph. What a legend. Murph just cemented himself as an all-time OTB listener.
He's a P1. That's what we call him in radio. Our most loyal listeners that listen all the time, call in all the time, show up at stuff. He's a P1.
He's a real one. He is a real one. He's also the one that commented about the Brennan O'Neill audio being garbage. Great show otherwise. And then I clapped back at him and he was like, I told him it might have been that. And he said, LOL, great episode. And all that kind of stuff. So shout out to Murph chiming back in. What a legend. What a fucking legend Murph is. But keep subscribing on Apple and Spotify. It really does help the show continue to grow and helps more people find not only OTB, but all of our podcasts on the network. And Deej, last week's episode, we thought we did well with a 3-hour episode. Last week's episode surpassed it. The people were tuned in for us discussing the haters. And they were tuned in for your apology to Richmond.
Of course. That's blockbuster television right there.
The soliloquy of the century.
The people have been waiting for that all week.
Oh, it was so fun. The reaction to that was priceless. But also subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@undergroundsportsphiladelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show every week, full video episodes of every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. It is all on our YouTube channel. We're at 1,035 subscribers, which means we are 65 subscribers away from our next goal of 1,100, which we're hopefully going to hit this Sunday, Deej. Sunday, as we will be live for Selection Sunday. Myself, Deej, Stevie Mac, potentially Christian if he's back from the typical day job things with Seton Hall. Harrison will be joining us for the women's bracket. We're going to have a whole squad deep for Selection Sunday as Underground Madness is here. We'll get into that later on in the show as well, because we got some big news there. But we'll be live on Sunday. 6 p.m. is when the bracket show starts on network television. We'll be live at 5:45 Eastern on our YouTube channel. Come hang out. Come hang out with the crew. It's going to be a doozy of a time. YouTube.com/@undergroundsportsphiladelphia. Subscribe. And if you want the OTB College Show, subscribe to the Outside the Box Podcast YouTube channel. We're 49 subscribers away there from that happening with Deej and Hoots. So subscribe to the Outside the Box Podcast YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/@OTBLaxPod. And this show is proudly presented by Shootout For Soldiers. And they have had some successful starts to the year already. And before we know it, the month of May will be here. And that's when they're heading back to Atlanta. They'll be in Atlanta May 17th. They'll also be in Annapolis, Maryland on May 17th. Jacksonville, North Carolina on May 25th. Long Island in July. Massachusetts, Ohio, and Canandaigua in July. We'll be in Virginia and Colorado in August, and Baltimore in September. It is truly one of the coolest experiences that you'll be able to attend if you go to a Shootout For Soldiers event. It is bridging community with the sport of lacrosse to support our nation's veterans. And in the times we're living in now, our nation's veterans certainly need that support in any way they can get it. Go to shootoutforsoldiers.com/events, learn how to register, get involved, become a sponsor, volunteer, and figure out how to attend a Shootout For Soldiers event this upcoming spring/summer/early fall season, obviously in September. But Shootout For Soldiers, genuinely one of the coolest events that you can attend, not only just in the lacrosse community, but just in your community in general. So sign up, shootoutforsoldiers.com/events for one of their upcoming events from the month of May to September. And we thank Shootout For Soldiers for being a proud presenting partner of the Outside the Box podcast. It's poppin', Deej. It's been a week.
We're pretty much a week into high school lacrosse. Feeling great about the year. I got a couple more players to come out, so the roster's getting a little bit larger. We're going to be competitive this year, both in our conference and non-conference, and should have a solid shot to win a couple regional games. So season's on a bright outlook. Everything else in my lacrosse world is in disarray. I don't know what to think about Calgary, which we'll definitely get to in just a moment. Obviously, a ton happened with my favorite PLL team, and Michigan lacrosse literally has me all over the place.
What's the song? It's been a really, really messed up week. 7 days of torture. 7 My girl went and cheated on me. La, la, la. We're going at it tonight.
That's low-key a banger.
That's the state of our lacrosse world.
Yes. 1000%.
Oh, what a week it's been. We're going to start off with the NLL. NLL Trade Deadline has come and gone, and the week of NLL action has come and gone. And as you guys know, our NLL wrap-ups each and every week are brought to you by our friends over at Buff. Guys, genuinely, I've been a fan of the company Buff for over 20 years. Being the diehard Survivor fan I am, Buff has been in my life since the year 2000. And they are genuinely the innovators in making sure that you are protected, whether it be your head, your face, your neck. And if you're on Survivor, you've seen the ladies using them things as bikini tops. You've been seeing them use it as just body protection, because it's truly there to protect you from the wind, the sun, the cold, with all of their designs for, shiesties, the buffs. They got the Survivor branded buffs now for the new season as well. Guys, no better company to protect yourself from the elements than our friends at Buff. Use our link in the description and shop everything Buff has to offer on their website, including the brand new Survivor Season 48 collection of buffs. Once again, use our link in the description, shop everything on Buff's website, and we thank Buff for being a proud partner of the podcast. All right, Deej, week 15 is in the books. Let's start with the trade deadline, honestly, because some crazy shit happened at the trade deadline, including the trade that it was very funny. I was in the press box at the Wings game this past weekend. Adam Levy was there, our guy. Shout out to the boy. And we were talking about it. And we were genuinely like, the way things are going, it feels like Christian Del Bianco may not play this year, and it could trickle into next season. And then before we knew it, he was traded. I didn't see this happening, quite frankly. I was pretty shocked that the trade finally happened. But the Calgary Roughnecks finally pull the trigger. They get what they felt like they deserved in compensation for Christian Del Bianco, as they traded Christian and future considerations to the Vancouver Warriors in exchange for Braden Lady, Vancouver's first-round selection in the 2025 draft, their second-round selection in the 2025 draft, their first-round selection in the 2026 entry draft, and future considerations. Deej, your thoughts on friend of the program, Christian Del Bianco, finally being set free, allowing him to spread his wings, and as the ever so funny Insider Joe, we all know, Insider Joel on Twitter, pack your bags, buddy, and get ready for that fucking 45-minute drive. Your thoughts on your franchise goaltender reuniting with your former head coach and GM?
Was it almost inevitable? Yeah. Like everybody kind of saw Kurt leave last year and head to Vancouver, and everybody's like, okay, so when does Christian Del Bianco go? Especially because we, at the time, Curtis Dixon and Dane Dobie were still
In San
Diego Seals. And then they shipped away Zach Currier before getting Dane Dobie and Curtis Dixon back. So everybody's like, oh, okay, this thing's really falling apart. Homie's definitely got to go out the door. He doesn't, then he holds out. So everybody's like, okay. It just seemed like it was only going to be a matter of time. First and foremost, thank you for the few years I got to see of Christian Del Bianco being great in a Calgary jersey. Was a huge part of the reason why I chose to be a Calgary fan. So that part stings in terms of him not being there anymore, but he was a large factor in deciding to be a Calgary fan. When I was going through the whole process, I talked a lot about how goaltending mattered and star players mattered and how their presence on social media mattered. He was not only a star player, a great goaltender who had an awesome and still has an awesome presence on social media. So all of that part sucks. But it's great to see him get his opportunity to continue to play. Sounds like he's going to be suited up this weekend. So him playing this year and beyond is good for the NLL. Even if it's not in a Calgary Roughnecks jersey, him playing is great for the sport, great for the league. That part I'm great and happy about. And I'm glad we got something in return and we didn't just let him leave in free agency. And we got some quality picks and pieces that could help us probably more long-term than short-term. And you always have to think long-term. So not necessarily a bad decision. It just sucks that he is not between the pipes for us.
Well, the funny part is he wouldn't have even been able to leave in free agency because the NLL doesn't let you become a true free agent until you're fucking 30 years old.
Yeah, but it still.
Imagine if he held out for 4 years.
He probably would have. He probably would have.
That couch would have had the meanest indent on that thing. It would have been like the SpongeBob meme where his bones are sticking out of his ass.
Yeah, literally, because he would have just been planted in that one spot.
I gotta say, we don't know what the future considerations aspect of this whole thing is, but to get 2 first-round picks along with a second, which in the NLL, a second-round pick is extremely valuable, 100%. I think you made out pretty damn good for this being a trade deadline thing. I feel like this kind of came to fruition pretty quickly also in terms of how this sped up and kind of came out of nowhere. I think the Roughnecks made out pretty good. I think Vancouver, obviously, you get your franchise goalie now, which you haven't really had in your existence as the Warriors. And we'll see how it all shakes out. I know Christian was playing in the Arena Lacrosse League. It's not exactly NLL talent across the board that you're facing every single week, but it's also not NLL defenses that are in front of you every single week either. And we'll see how it shakes out. But the Del Bianco saga has come to a close, and I think both teams made out pretty okay.
Yeah, I think this was good for both teams. And like I said, really the only bad part to me is that he's no longer between the pipes for Calgary.
Some other trades. The Las Vegas Desert Dogs traded James Barclay to the San Diego Seals in exchange for Justin Sykes and a second-round pick in the 2026 entry draft. Sykes' practice player tag was removed, and he was retained on the active roster. A little insider trading, wink, wink. Obviously, both Joe side teams. We'll see how it shakes out with Barclay going to the Seals and what he does for that defense and the transition game there, but overall, pretty solid deal for both teams. I do say so myself. Marquez White said West Side. He's going from the Bandits to the Seals. This coming after he signed with the Redwoods in the PLL in exchange for a second-round pick in the 2026 entry draft and a conditional second-round pick in the 2028 entry draft. That's a nice little deal for the Bandits. I know Marquez is a Cali boy, like he's from California, so like he gets to be in market year round now. But to get 2 second-round picks is pretty solid for the Bandits.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen a ton of Marquez White, so that could turn out to be two fold players who turn out to be better than Marquez White. Yeah, not necessarily even better than him skill wise, but maybe they fit the system. Buffalo's running better. There's a lot that can come from that. It also could be a horrible decision. They could turn out and draft 2 guys that are bust and are worse than him. So it's like you said, draft picks.
And also, a meteor could hit the Earth tomorrow, and those draft picks won't matter.
Don't be saying that.
You never know. You never know.
Don't be saying that, bro.
You could get Thanos blipped.
Really don't be saying that.
Speaking of crazy things that we never saw coming, a 4-team trade in the NLL. That trade graphic is one for the books.
Never thought I'd see that a day in my life. For as much as the NLL isn't run like the big sports, that sure was very big for sport like.
The funny part is like they were all like separate transactions, then were all announced as one. So I'll start from the bottom and go to the top. The Bandits traded their second round pick in 2028 to the Vancouver Warriors in exchange for Kyle Matisse and their 4th round selection in the 2028 entry draft. Now, how did Kyle Matisse end up on the Vancouver Warriors? Well, that's because the Vancouver Warriors traded Jonathan Peshko and their 4th round pick in the 2026 entry draft to Ottawa in exchange for Kyle Matisse, Ottawa's 2026 first round selection, and a 2nd round selection in the 2026 entry draft. Now, here's the thing, Deej. Before I even keep going, what is Ottawa doing? And I love Rich Lisk. That's my guy through and through. I will go to bat for him all the time. Does Ottawa realize they now don't have first round picks in 2026 and 2027?
I would imagine he does.
Because they traded the 2027 pick in the Zach Higgins deal with the Wings. I just say this because we were talking about Ottawa last week, and it's like, you got to build a team around Jeff Teat that's competent. And if you continue to trade first-round picks away, like, I get Peshko's a good player, but I'm just baffled by the willingness to deal first round picks like that.
What they say, chances make champions.
Yeah, well, right now, chances make that team 500 or worse.
And what else they say? Stupid games, play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
They ain't winning shit right now.
And,
Um,
hey, I'm just saying it sounds like they're playing a little bit of a stupid game, so there just may be a stupid prize around the corner for them.
Also part of this trade, the Albany Firewolves traded Travis Longbow, their first round pick in 2026, and a fourth round pick in 2026 to the Ottawa Black Bears in exchange for Jonathan Peshko. So there you go. They recouped a first round pick via Albany. And on top of that, the Buffalo Bandits traded Sam LaRue and a second round pick in the 2026 entry draft to Ottawa in exchange for Ron John and their third round pick in 2025. A lot of shit that happened that, quite frankly, Deej, I don't think it makes any of these teams better. It's a whole lot of something for what equates to not a whole lot of nothing. In my book, on paper, obviously. Like, I saw all this and I was like, that's just a lot of like stirring the pot a little bit, but what are the ingredients in the pot? Like, what are we stirring around? And I don't know. It's this massive 4-team trade that a lot of good players, but does it make the teams that those players are going to better? I genuinely cannot say yes, just basing it off of looking at how everything unfolded.
I mean, I don't want to go down that line, but I mean, technically, you could say that about every trade.
Like, it's kind of just a whole lot of like a whole lot of words that I just spewed. There wasn't like anything that really like shook the landscape of any of those teams, really.
I mean, I agree with you. I'm not saying that I see anything that pops off the board to me and is like, oh yeah, this person's definitely going to go in and make like this huge impact. But it's like, I feel that way about damn near every trade. Like, I'd be looking like, okay, even on paper, like, yes, like Chris Gray, that trade was perfect. Like, looking at it objectively, I was like, this is fucking awful because of X, Y, and Z. But then I was also on the flip side, if this guy does show up, he is ready to go. You have this, this, and this. Like, that's kind of just how I look at every trade is this doesn't help the team at all. But
like there's been
on the
very
flip
few
side,
of those.
yeah. But then like this trade, like you really kind of look at it, doesn't look like it's going to help anyone at all.
I felt like the Zach Galifianakis meme in the Hangover with all the math going in front of my eyes, just reading off all of that. I was like trying to calculate everything.
But then, 2 or 3 of these teams could actually turn out to be a piece that unlocks a new level of their offense or their defense, transition game, whatever. But like you can't know that until it happens on floor or on field. So that's kind of just how I look at every trade. It is you really don't know. Like even basketball, like everybody like flipped out about Luka LeBron right when it happened, which like
Rightfully
reasonable. Or reasonable. We all flipped out, including me, but like we also really had no idea what that was going to look like on floor. The decision and them all getting together for the first time, 2011 or 2010, they looked okay. They did. They looked good. But then when it was time for them to really play together and figure things out in the finals, they lost. Because that's what happens when new teams get together. That's what happens.
That's what happens when you run into Dirk Nowitzki.
But then, you go back, you look at that 2012 team, they added a few pieces in Birdman, Mike Miller, Rashad Lewis. Like there were pieces that they went and grabbed that were just the right pieces to help them. And everybody's like, who go get you went and got 34-year-old Birdman? You went and got Mike Miller, who looks like he just got off the corner. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but then you saw them play, and it was like, oh, That's why. You needed a guy that wasn't even really going to play defense, was just going to chase the guy around some screens and then shoot a three in the corner. Okay, Mike Miller can do that all day. Like, they went and got guys who complemented them well. We're not the GMs or coaches of these teams. We're just
Thank
looking
God.
outside in, right? But we're looking outside in. So to us, it doesn't make any sense. But they could have had an eye for something that's going to unlock this next level in their team, and it does turn out to be a good trade. We just literally cannot tell.
Like, from a player perspective wise, if I had to put a finger at, like, the Bandits won, quote unquote, the trade. You get Kyle Matisse, a veteran leader who can play all over the floor, whether it be forward, play a little defense, especially in transition. And you get Ron John to solidify that defense while you have some injuries right now. And I mean, you're the Bandits, you're in first place. Like, the rich get richer. Everything else, I'm just like, okay. It's like a wait and see type thing, but it was like this huge magistry of a trade that occurred, and it's like, what the hell just happened? Like, it's like you're in college and you're on like the same floor, like with a bunch of your roommates, and you all are just like, yeah, we're just gonna sleep in each other's rooms tonight, and you just trade rooms. That's what this trade is like.
It would be like having a twin and just like swapping classes. Like,
Literally.
hey, bro, I know you're good at science. I'm good at English. Let's swap real fast for this period.
When I was in middle school, I had classmates, identical twins. There's a caveat to this as well. They both had the same name. They were both named Louis Seho. They had different middle names. That one of them went by Ricky, the other one went by Louis. The amount of times those dudes switched classes was astronomical.
I mean, yeah, their parents set them up for that. The same name.
Same name, bro.
The same name's crazy work, bro.
Identical twins.
Literally the only thing separating them is fucking fingerprints.
And their middle names were different. That was the only difference. Insane. But a lot of trades went down. And a lot of games went down. Week 15 in the NLL, the Toronto Rock once again flip us the double bird, and they beat the Halifax Thunderbirds 15-12. The Nighthawks beat the Las Vegas Desert Dogs in a football game 21-13. The San Diego Seals prevail over the Vancouver Warriors 13-11 in one of the biggest on-paper upsets of the season. Deidre Calgary Roughnecks pump the ever-living shit out of Matty Vince and the Buffalo Bandits 17-11 at Banditland. The Philadelphia Wings pissed down their legs and lost 12-10 at home to the Albany Firewolves and get swept by the Firewolves this season. And then the Saskatchewan Rush outlast the Georgia Swarm down in Georgia 8-7. I'll start with the negative, and then I'll let you take over with the positive, because a hell of a win from your boys. I mean, quite frankly, the Wing season is as close to over as it's been all year, which sucks, because there was so much hope, so much optimism, so much excitement, and then you go and make these giant swing trades, and guess what? All three of those guys looked great in their debuts, and they helped you stay in the game. But your offense went more silent than a silent film. 10 goals against the Albany Firewolves, in which Blaze Reardon, Mitch Jones, and Joe Resiteritz did not score until the fourth quarter, is, quite frankly, embarrassing, to say the least. Nick Dimute stood on his head once again, 47 saves in this game. You got worked at the faceoff stripe. Obviously so. You're going up against Joe Nardellis, so you got to do what you got to do, but you don't even have a competent guy out there who should be taking faceoffs. And Kyle Jackson came in with a revenge game, took 12 shots on goal, and looked like a fucking stud in his debut with his brand new team. Alex Simmons was fucking painting corners on you. And your leading goal scorer was a defenseman in Mitch DeSnew with 2 goals. Brand new to the team, mind you. Like, you were all knotted up and you let momentum slide by in the first quarter when you let Albany score with like 1.5 seconds to go or whatever it was. You, again, lose the plot of the game in the second quarter. I don't know what it is about the second quarter that this team just has not been able to figure out all year. And then you go even with them the rest of the game. Like, you go 1 for 3 on the power play. That was a strong suit for a majority of the beginning of this season. And then ever since Scott Dominy went down, the power play has gone to shit, and you can't capitalize there. Like, you capitalize on the power play, you win this game. I don't understand. Like, teams are out shooting you, they're out possessing you, and when you're not getting possessions for premium superstars in Joe Resiteritz, who's not getting any younger, for Mitch Jones, for Blaze Reardon, for Brennan O'Neill, for Michael Sowers, I don't understand what the approach is. And you averaged 8 goals a game against the Albany Firewolves this year. Now, I know they're a talented team, but guess what, guys? You gave them 2 of their 4 wins. That's pathetic. And I was talking about it with people in the press box. Like, looking at the rest of the Wings schedule where you have Colorado this weekend, luckily you're at home, but guess what? That's not a given that you win that game because you haven't proven that you've been able to win anything because you're on a 5-game losing streak. You still have to play Georgia twice. You still have to go cross-country to Vancouver, and you still have to play Toronto, who have become one of the more Jekyll and Hyde teams of the season as of late. Like, quite frankly, the worst the Wings can finish this season is, along with a whole hell of a lot of help, is finish 4-2. And quite frankly, they probably have to go 5-1. And if they lose this weekend to Colorado, you might be getting ready to pack your bags early because there may not be that much hope the rest of the way. Like, you got gifted that Eli McLaughlin is now on the holdout list because of his firefighter obligations. So maybe that helps. But if the offense isn't scoring, like, it's like every week, one of the 3 phases of this team just disappears. You bolstered the defense and you bolstered the transition game at the trade deadline. They showed up. The offense disappeared. Before that, the offense was buzzing, but you couldn't stop anything worth a damn. And you had Nick Damude standing on his head, spinning around like Hitmontop from Pokemon. Shout out to the Johto region. And you're getting outscored. And all year, you haven't been able to win a single fucking faceoff. It's just embarrassing because this team is so much better. And we said this last year and the year before, this team is so much better talent-wise than what they do on the floor. And I just don't get what doesn't compute come game day.
Yeah, that was a tough loss. I'm not quite sure what I believe the problem is there. Like you said, it seems to be a carousel of things, and it shifts from time to time. For a few games, they'll have some problems on the defensive end, and then it'll shift to the offense, and then transition doesn't quite have it together. And there isn't a lack of effort anywhere in the building. The coaching staff is doing what they can. They're putting together great game plans, and the team isn't quite executing them. But you can see that the team is doing their best in terms of trying to implement the game plan that the coaches have put together, giving their 110% effort. It's just not all coming together quite the way that they thought it would. And honestly, I think that's a theme for, like, honestly, if you look at it this year, the theme is half the teams are having the season they thought they would have, and the other half are having a season they had no clue they were going to have. Buffalo probably could count it that they thought they were going to have the season they're having. Saskatchewan, they probably were like, we'll be in the middle of the pack. And boom, here they are at the top. And then you look at a team like Albany, who just was in the NLL Cup last year. They don't think that they're only got 4 wins this far into the season. They're completely having a season they didn't think. And I think Philly is right in that same mode of having a season they didn't think that they would have. But it's not as bad as in Albany, but it's very up and down. It's very like, okay, things are looking on the up for us. We have this, we have that, we can put it together. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we have nothing.
So I think they started 5-2 and are now 5-7. Like, I was on this podcast 5 game weeks ago, feeling incredible about this team. Even after they lost to the Bandits, because they bounced back and they beat Vancouver the very next night. Or whatever, it was that Monday maybe, because that was the week that they had to push it because of the Eagles game. But now you've lost 5 games in a row. And it's just the same thing. And like you said, like Albany, team like Toronto, Saskatchewan, like playing better or worse than they expected. The Wings are in this loop of constant insanity that they're just doing the same things over and over and over again and expecting a different result. And here's the thing, like, now I'm saying take this player off of this team and put them onto the Wings the way they're performing, and you tell me the Wings are not a more improved team. Alex Stathakis at the faceoff stripe. Take him out of Vancouver, put him on Philadelphia. The Wings probably have at least 2 more wins. You take Justin Inacio off your Roughnecks, the way he's playing this year, and put him at the stripe for the Wings. They probably have 3, maybe 4 more wins. You put Jake Naso at the faceoff stripe, the way he's playing this year. The Wings maybe have 3, 4, 5 more wins. Like, the fact that you're winning 6 faceoffs a game pretty much week in and week out and are just conceding in a version of lacrosse and at this level where time and time again it is proven when you have somebody who is far more competent at taking faceoffs than just putting a random dude out there, you're more successful. I just don't understand the stubbornness of preventing yourself from being better and getting possessions for a superstar-laden offense and just being okay with it. Like, that's what drives me crazy. It's just the complacency of not addressing a position of need. Like, you knew Nick Rowlett was going to be out effectively the entire season. You did the same thing last year or the year before when you traded Trevor Baptiste away. You didn't go and get anybody until you signed Nick Rowlett halfway through the year. I just don't understand the notion of ignoring the faceoff position when we've seen guys like Joe Nardella, Trevor Baptiste, who was in your building. Obviously, circumstances nullified that. Jake Withers, TD Ierlan, the way Justin Inacio has played, Stathakis, Jake Naso. Like, more than half the teams in the league have a competent faceoff guy. Sisselberger stepped in when he's played for Rochester and got off without a hitch. Connor Farrell rejuvenated his pro lacrosse career with the Buffalo Bandits. Max Adler, before he retired, won a championship and helped the Bandits win a championship. Like, it's not that hard. And just negating that portion of your team, it puts you in this loop that you're in to just be a mediocre franchise when you have talent that is far superior to being mediocre. And it drives me nuts. And it's going to suck when they miss out on the playoffs because they just failed to improve a position of absolute need. That is your weakest spot on the roster, and it's going to cost them the playoffs.
When, not if, is crazy. I feel
tell
you.
me.
I feel you. But when, not if, is crazy. That's crazy work.
They need to give me a reason to say if.
I'm still gonna say if. I got some belief in the Wings. I'm still gonna say if.
Here's why I don't, because you don't have the tiebreaker with San Diego. They're ahead of you in the standings right now, so you need them to fall apart. Rochester's been on an absolute heater reviving their season. They're ahead of you. Roughnecks are ahead of you. The only thing that the Wings have a benefit there is that you beat them head to head. You didn't beat Halifax, so that's another thorn in your side. You have 2 games against Georgia, which is beneficial, but still not a given. And you play Colorado this week, and they're ahead of you by 2 games. Ottawa's ahead of you at 5 and 6. You never know what's going to happen with them. But the big thing is San Diego, and that's a team who, granted, they're normally towards the top of the table typically, but that's a team that has guys on that roster and a head coach who's accustomed to battling through long seasons and getting to the playoffs. So unless they absolutely collapse, unless Rochester absolutely collapses, I just don't see a path unless the Wings win out and you get some stumbles along the way from teams in front of you, which right now there's multiple teams in front of you that you don't have a clear path of getting in front of without help from their opponents.
I still just say if. There's a chance. That's all I'm saying. Is there's a chance.
I'm going to pull up Graham Parrow's website, but I'll let you wax poetic about your Roughnecks because that's a lot more positive, and I'm sure people want to hear you gloat and boast about that, rightfully so. But it sucks because this team has so many talented players that deserve so much better and opportunities to compete in the playoffs and compete for championships, and they just are not afforded that right now.
First, I would like to apologize to the Roughnecks. This is the 2nd week in a row I'm apologizing to a team. This is getting out of fucking hand. Yeah, I'm sorry for not picking you guys last week. Completely out of hand there. I know better than to be going against my favorite teams, even in games that we have no business winning. I totally dropped the ball there. Superman, you're nuts. Curtis Dixon is actually insane. I was watching this game and I was like, these are not real plays. Like this is not actually happening. Curtis Dixon is not doing these things in front of everyone. Like, his nickname is Superman because he does unreal things. He does things that are not real. Like he is the epiphany of that motherfucker over there is not real because he's not. Like, I can't even put into words the things that he does for this team. I mean, 6 goals. We got 7 assists from Pacer, 10 points from Kinger to lead the night. Justin Inacio was great at the stripe. 44 saves from Nick Rose coming into his first game, basically. If you ask me, his first game in a Calgary Roughnecks jersey. I'm just blown away at the fact that we went into Bandit Land and played the way we did. It was absolutely fantastic to see with no Dane Doby.
That was the crazy part.
I also want to apologize for tweeting that the Pistons were the only team I had to look forward to in the month of March. That was false information. I'm sorry. That was an awful thing to tweet. Granted, hold on. Shout out my Pistons. Them boys balling right now. They're actually in a virtual tie for 4th place in the East and have a chance to overtake that spot over both the Pacers and the Bucks over the next couple of days. So that's something I have my eyes glued to as well. Detroit basketball, baby. Y'all know what it is. But yeah, just being able to watch that game and kind of I withheld. I learned my lesson from Richmond as that fourth quarter was going on. I just wanted to tweet so bad, like, wow, we're really going to do this. But like, I just didn't want to put that bad energy out there. And then we did actually do it, and it felt fantastic. But it does make me terrified for this weekend. Because if anybody's actually paying attention to any scheduling that's going on, them boys coming right into the Saddle Dome this weekend. And I don't think they forgot what we did in Bandit Land last weekend, which was not just a win. Calgary went in there and dominated that game. Like they really took over Bandit Land and made it their own. It was 2-2 after one, and then it was 7-6 at half, and then it was 10-9.
Belt to ass.
it was 10-9 at the end of the third, and that's when things really opened up. Was in that fourth quarter. You really saw Curtis Dixon kind of take a page out of Dane Dobie's book and make the fourth quarter his, and we ended up exploding for 7 goals, and boom, that was kind of the spark that pushed us over the edge. 21-32 at the stripe, 3 for 6 on the power play, but only giving Buffalo 2 power plays and shutting them down on both. That was kind of the real highlight there in the night, is winning the penalty battle the way we did, especially after, starting the game 0-2, down 2-0, and then you give up another two-goal run at the beginning of the second quarter before you really take things off again in the fourth, scoring the last 4 goals of the game as well, which is huge. So I'm really pumped for what I saw last week and how this team can expand on that. We're still positive on the year. I actually don't believe Calgary has been under 500 all season. So that's something to be.
And if it was like 1-2.
Yeah, but I don't even think so. I think we've been 500 or better all season. If so, it was early on, like 1-2, and since then they've been at least keeping par with themselves. So great job in that locker room, and really keep battling, because the Roughnecks are in a great position.
Yeah. I did pull up the NLLstats.com, Deej. Before we keep pushing, I do want to play a game here. I do want to see what it will take for the Wings to be in a playoff spot. So I have the games here in front of me, because shout out to Graham Perro, NLLstats.com lets you do the predictions. So we'll get to our picks obviously later on in the show, but for week 16 with the matchups, these are the matchups. Saskatchewan, Halifax. This doesn't necessarily have to be your pick, but who do you see just on paper winning that game?
Rush.
Toronto, Vancouver.
Give me Vancouver, even with Del Bianco coming off
So
a long extended break.
The intention of this exercise, I'm going to say the Wings win, because they have to. Rochester, Ottawa. I'm going to say Rochester wins because of the way they've been playing. Georgia, Albany. Say Georgia wins. Buffalo, Calgary. Do we say even it up? I mean, let me see if it changes anything really.
I think it probably would be better for Buffalo to win in terms of Philly's sake.
Yeah, because then that knocks Calgary to 8th. If Calgary wins with what we've done so far, you guys would jump up to 4th. And Saskatchewan would move to first place.
Hey, yo.
We'll say Buffalo wins for this.
You said what place?
4th. San Diego, Vegas. Yeah. You need Vegas to win, but I'm not going to say Vegas is going to win, because there's no real chance there, honestly. Ottawa, Halifax in week 17.
Halifax.
Buffalo's going to beat Vegas. Philly has to beat Toronto for the purpose of this exercise. Buffalo beats Albany. I'm going to say your Roughnecks beat the Seals to help us out because the Wings need help. Georgia, Vancouver.
Georgia.
Colorado and Ottawa. We'll say Colorado wins. Philly needs to beat Ottawa in week 18 to have a chance. Rochester, San Diego. Two teams that are right now ahead of the Wings. So in this circumstance, if San Diego wins, San Diego would leapfrog the Wings, but the Wings would stay in the playoffs. San Diego would just jump from 6 to in front of the Wings in 7th. And if Rochester wins, Rochester stays in that 6th position ahead of the Wings. So either way, one of them is knocked down. Who do we want to win that game for the purpose of this exercise?
Who is it?
Seals and Nighthawks.
I'll take the Nighthawks.
Okay. Vancouver and Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Colorado, Saskatchewan.
Give me Saskatoon.
Halifax at Georgia.
Georgia.
Calgary at Saskatchewan.
Calgary. We got to get our get back.
Albany at Vancouver. I'll say Vancouver wins. San Diego at Halifax.
Why do I feel like this is a game that San Diego would win?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll go San Diego.
Rochester will probably beat Ottawa. Philly has to beat Georgia here. Buffalo beats Colorado in my book. Toronto will beat Vegas. Vancouver, let's say they beat Toronto. Philly has to beat Georgia. San Diego beats Albany. Ottawa beats Vegas. Buffalo beats Halifax. Saskatchewan beats Colorado. Halifax and Toronto rematch. Let's say Halifax gets their lick back. Calgary beats Vegas. San Diego probably beats Albany. Rochester and Toronto. Let's keep it interesting. Rochester wins because they're at home. Buffalo beats Georgia. Wings beat Vancouver. Saskatchewan beats Ottawa. Calgary beats Colorado. For the Wings to have a shot with everything we did, that would be the Wings winning out, which is obviously not always going to be the case, which we'll keep everything the same and then switch some of the Wings stuff. Everything we just did puts the Wings in 4th place and they finish 11-7. And the playoffs would be Buffalo, Saskatchewan, Rochester, Philly, Calgary, Georgia, San Diego, Halifax. Which would make Colorado miss the playoffs, Vancouver miss the playoffs, and everybody else is kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. So let's say, hypothetically, Philadelphia loses to Colorado this week. That would bump the Roughnecks ahead of the Wings. The Wings would be the 5 seed. Colorado would make the playoffs instead of Halifax. And on top of that, let's say they split with Georgia. And we'll do it. Let's see, where does it make it interesting? Probably at Philly, which would be where? Where is this game? Or I'll just switch this one here. So if they lose to Georgia and they lose to Colorado, with everything we did, Philly misses the playoffs by 1 game. They'd go 9-9. Halifax and Colorado would jump them due to tiebreakers, and San Diego would be a game clear of them due to winning week 1. So in that scenario, let's switch it to, and if they beat Colorado this week, but lose that Georgia game, they still get into the playoffs as the 7 seed. Genuinely, like, it's crazy. Like, there's very few games they can lose. Like, they could lose the Georgia game and the Toronto game, and everything we did stays the same. They would get in as the 8 seed at 9-9. But if they beat Toronto by virtue of tiebreakers, they'd be 10-8 and jump Halifax. So there's still a lot, but it's a fuck ton of help that they need. And it makes my brain hurt, for better or for worse. Other stuff around the league last week as we wrap up week 15. Long recap. I know it's been crazy. Saskatchewan, great win for them. They're 1 win away from clinching a playoff spot and 2 away from clinching a home game in the playoffs. Great win for San Diego against Vancouver, and Rochester went absolute belt to ass on Vegas. And Toronto and Halifax in the battle of Jekyll and Hyde teams did exactly what Jekyll and Hyde teams do. So your table after week 15, Buffalo's still up top at 9-2. Saskatchewan has the most wins. They're 10-3. Colorado, Georgia, Halifax are all 7-5. Calgary is 7-6. Rochester is 7-7. San Diego is 6-6. And then the outside looking in, Ottawa's in 9th at 5-6. Philadelphia is 5-7. They're in 10th. Vancouver is in 11th at 5-7. Toronto is 4-8. Albany is 4-9, and Vegas is 3-10.
Ouch.
I think if Vegas loses this weekend, they are the first team eliminated from the playoffs.
That's tough. That's tough. Nobody wants to be the first.
Rough. Let's look at week 16, which may have the best time slots of games we've ever seen. It all starts on Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, Saskatchewan at Halifax.
This is nuts.
Followed by Toronto and Vancouver at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Then on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, Colorado at Philly. Then 3 p.m. Eastern, Rochester at Ottawa. Then 7 p.m. Eastern, Georgia at Albany. And then 9 p.m. Eastern, the nightcap, the rematch, Buffalo at Calgary. And then on Sunday at 4:30 Eastern, the Joe Cy Bowl, Vegas at San Diego. Quite literally, the best lineup of time slots we have gotten in quite some time.
I think ever. I don't think any lacrosse lineup has ever been this good. To where the games are spaced out to where you actually don't have to multi-screen a single game.
Nope.
That doesn't happen for us.
And if you do, the only times it would be the tail end of Colorado Philly as Rochester Ottawa gets started, and then the tail end of Georgia Albany as Buffalo Calgary gets started.
Yes, there will be slight crossover there, but
it's honestly, perfect crossover.
I say honestly, it's to the point to where you might not even want a crossover.
Mm-hmm. So as we look at these matchups, what intrigues you about Week 16, Deej? A lot of fun games, a lot of playoff implication games, a lot of high-powered offenses going at one another. What do you like about Week 16?
Saskatchewan and Halifax starting at 6 p.m. We saw the jerseys Saskatchewan's going to wear for the weekend. They're absolutely beautiful.
I need one of them.
I just really wish these were like these special jerseys were sold online and not just in stadium. Kind of crazy they're not wearing them at a home game, but I understand why they're wearing them this weekend with St. Patty's and everything. They're absolutely fantastic. I'm sure the nest is going to be full. I'm sure there's going to be tons of adult beverages enjoyed during the game, which is only going to make the crowd better. So I'm really pumped for this Halifax Saskatchewan game. I think it's the perfect way to open up the weekend on a Friday night. The only part that sucks is that I'm going to be watching it on replay because I practice 6 to 8. But I might, and no, we can't afford to tweak practice and just watch that game. Man, would that be fun? But yeah, so that's a great way to open up the weekend. I think that's fun, and it's going to be low-key, sneaky, dark horse kind of game of the week pick. It could easily be a game that turns out to be 14-16, something like that, and it's just all fireworks. Toronto Vancouver is fun because Toronto has just been here and not here. Like they're literally playing peekaboo with everyone all season, which has been fun to watch, but also frustrating to watch at the same time. And then obviously we get CDB and New Digs for the first time, so that's going to be fun to watch as well. Hoping Philly doesn't implode this weekend? Question mark. Rochester has low key rejuvenated their season as they're sitting right behind Calgary at 7-7. So watching them play has become fun as Connor Fields continues to dominate on the low. And if he's not in the MVP conversation, then I have a lot of words to say about that. We don't have to say anything about Georgia Albany other than number 4 is really good at lacrosse. So I'll be tuned in to see him do really good at lacrosse things. San Diego has a chance to kind of really get back on the train, get another win here, and continue to keep pace with that middle of the pack area so they can be fighting for a playoff spot. March to May has started. They're in a good position at the moment, but they got to keep winning in order to do so. Playing Las Vegas is a great opportunity to go and get a win. And then obviously, my game of the week, those green jerseys. Oh, beautiful. Once again, wish they weren't just sold in stadium. Would love to have my hands on one. I'm afraid, but I'm fucking pumped.
Can I read a stat to you that is quite
alarming,
quite insane in one of the coolest ways ever? Your top 5 in NLL loose balls this season.
Oh, Connor Fields is up there.
Connor Fields is on this list.
Mm-hmm.
He's tied with Joe Nardella at 125 loose balls. Those two are just one behind Justin Inacio, who's in second with 126, and Jake Withers leads the way at 133. The rest of these guys are taking faceoffs on the regular. Withers, Inacio, Nardella, and Robert Hope.
Yep.
And then there's Connor fucking Fields, who also leads the league in shots on goal by a hefty margin, leads the league in points right now with 95. He's going to be the first player probably to hit 100 on the season. He's got 62 assists, 33 goals. As much as I love Mitch Jones and Joe Restateras, they've fallen off the past couple of weeks with the landslide the Wings are on. Connor Fields should be the MVP.
He is my MVP at this very moment. He is my MVP. Like, and the only reason people don't have him higher is because they're 7-7. 7-7. Even at 7-7, he is the best player on the floor right now. He's doing everything to prove he's the best player. The only thing is he doesn't have enough help on the opposite side of the floor for them to win more games, which is not his fault.
Mm-hmm. Because guess what? Ryan Lanchbury leads the league in assists, who's on the floor out there with Fields, he with 66. And Connor Fields has 62 of his own, like I said. And Connor Fields has 33 goals. And Ryan Smith leads the Nighthawks with 36. They got the offense. They're scoring goals. Great googly moogly. Another fun stat. Fucking thank the Lord for Nick Damude. He leads the league in saves. 513 saves.
Hey, real brick wall.
Fucking dog.
That's a positive.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, y'all.
That defense in front of them.
Y'all ain't got many of them going up there right now, so gotta grab them where you can.
I'm excited for Saskatchewan Halifax, like you said. Buffalo Calgary is going to be insane. Toronto Vancouver has a chance to be really fun as well. And then we'll see what happens on Wingston's birthday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and if the Wings can get their shit together. Put it all in a backpack.
Oh, it's Winston's birthday?
Yeah, they're giving away Winston bobblehead to the people who bought the ticket package with that.
You guys aren't going to lose Winston bobblehead night.
Man, I'll take a page out of your book and I will drive up to and leap off the ambassador if we do.
Bro, that's such a far drive for you.
And that's how much pain I would feel.
Bro, that's half a day. Like, do you know how angry you got to still be to go all the way there, get there?
And you know what I would do while doing it on repeat would just be Papa Roach. Cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort to the suffocation, to no breathing. That would be me the entire time.
Oh my God. Please just like FaceTime me.
Every time.
Because like I actually would love to have that footage. So I can just replay it at your funeral. Hey everyone, this was KB's last moments.
That song came out like 25 years ago this week or something, and somebody said, they quote tweeted and said, white boys got to stop trying to do country music or be rappers. They need to make real shit like this again.
We like that music.
Max.
We will
Papa
listen
Roach
to
that
it.
dude. Oh. But
It
yeah,
was a spring concert one year at my school.
that's fucking electric. That's electric.
Isn't it?
Oh.
It was him and then like Paul McCartney.
What the fuck? What kind of budget does your D3 school have?
Oh no. I was like, hello?
What the hell? That's
This is
crazy.
the same year they're supposed to be bringing B.O.B.
That's insane.
Like the rumor was B.O.B. and everybody's like, oh, okay, B.O.B. Yeah. And they show up with Papa Roach and Paul
y'all were like, we
McCartney.
can have them airplanes and the next kind of like, cut my life into pieces.
Like, damn, bro, what a switch up.
Vibe switched.
Crazy
Good
work.
grief.
I really hope y'all don't lose this weekend, though.
I hope not either, because it will not be fun. But our Week 16 preview brought to you by our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. Guys, if you want to stand out in the crowd, whether you're going to your favorite NLL team's game, gearing up for the college season that's in full swing now, or the PLL season, you want to rep OTB, PHI Apparel Company is the place to do it with their unique designs for all, including exclusive Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast merch. There's no doubt in our minds that you will stand out in the crowd. Go to phiapparel.co, and when you go to checkout, use code Underground, and you'll get 10% off your next order from PHI Apparel Company. Again, that's phiapparel.co, code Underground, and you get 10% off your next merch order. And when you get your merch, tag us in it. We'll repost it. We want to see your OTB merch. So go get your discount. Code Underground, 10% off at phiapparel.co. And without any further ado, Deej, let's go feed some ducks.
Feed the duckies.
Let's feed some ducks, as I'll pull up our results from last week as well. And we'll dive into our Week 16 NLL picks of the week, brought to you by Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's a refreshing light beer, just 4.1% ABV, 120 calories, just 8 grams of carbs. Go to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny tracker to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia, New Jersey, Delaware, Pittsburgh, and Maryland areas. You can also get Kenwood Beer at your local liquor store in those markets. Once again, that's kenwoodbeer.com. Must be 21 or older to do so. And of course, please drink responsibly. So, Deej, last week you had Halifax, who caught an L. You had Rochester, who got the big dub. You had Vancouver, who lost. You had Buffalo, who lost. You had Philly, who lost. And you had Georgia, who lost. quite frankly, your worst week of the season. You picked up 1 W out of the 6 games to go 1-5. You are now 48-38 on the season.
Okay. I'll take 10 games over still.
And then I had Halifax, who caught the L. I had Rochester. I had San Diego, which was a win for me. I had Buffalo, Philly, and I had Saskatchewan. So I went 3-3, which keeps me at even Steven 500 for the season. I am 43-43. But I'm 5 games behind, baby. I'm like Sandy running with the lasso against Bob and Patrick. But not quick.
You know I ain't tripping. You know I ain't tripping. This is my season. I win NLL picks every year.
Big week. 7 games on the docket this week. And it starts in Halifax as the Saskatchewan Rush cross the coast of Canada. They go coast to coast, and they'll be playing Halifax at the Nest. Deej, how do you see this one taken out?
There are only 2 games this week that are hard to pick, and this is one of them. Maybe for some people this isn't a hard game to pick, but for me, when you look at it, this is 2 current playoff teams that are in battle tonight, or will be in battle tonight by the time you hear this. But Saskatchewan looks far better at 10-3. They're the first team to hit double-digit wins this year. But Halifax is playing at home, where they have played some decent lacrosse, where the Nest is always a tough place to play. But you know one of the best teams on the road this year? Saskatchewan. You know who else has just played really good lacrosse recently? Saskatchewan. You know who else should probably have someone in the MVP race that probably isn't being talked about enough there? Saskatchewan. Who do you think I'm going to pick this week? Halifax. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to go with Saskatchewan.
Like, huh?
I'm going to go with the Rush.
I was like, Home Improvement.
Hello?
I'm also going with the Rush because they have a chance to clinch a playoff spot, which I think would be pretty sick. Then we go to 10 Eastern, Toronto at Vancouver. The debut of Christian Del Bianco as the goaltender for the Vancouver Warriors. I got to go with the boy. Friend of the program. He's back. He's been waiting for this. He's right in his backyard. I'm going to go Vancouver to get the dub.
I'm going to go with Vancouver as well. I think he will make a difference. And Toronto's kind of just in such a limbo that it's truly hard to trust them to win most games this year. So I'm going to lean on Vancouver to be maybe the only home team to win this week.
We go to Wingston's birthday at 1 Eastern on Saturday as the Mammoth come to Philadelphia, and I'm going to try something different this week, Deej. I'm going to pick against the Wings. Give me the Mammoth.
I'm going to go right behind you and go with the Mammoth as well. As much as I want the Wings to win for multiple reasons, this just seems like the smarter pick, even without McLaughlin being in the lineup for the Mammoth.
Rochester at Ottawa. Rochester's the hottest damn team in the league, not named Saskatchewan or Buffalo or any of the top dogs. They are climbing their way up the table. I'm taking the Nighthawks.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Nighthawks as well. Ottawa's kind of reached that dangerous territory of looking worse than what many people believe they are. And they're not producing on the floor, so it's hard to trust them to win.
Georgia at Albany. I mean, it's tough to gauge the Firewolves because they've beaten the Wings in back-to-back games. So I don't know if they're like finding themselves, but the Swarm are the better team. And they have not the better goaltender, but the better performing goaltender right now overall. So I'm going to take Georgia.
I'm going to go with Georgia as well. This one's plain and simple. They have Lyle Thompson, and Albany does not.
Buffalo and Calgary in the rematch. Nick Rose dropped some bars last week. Some certified bars.
Hear me out. I am going total CYA mode this week. I am not picking against Calgary. Let me make that very clear. I am not picking against Calgary. But I am picking Buffalo because last week I picked Buffalo and Calgary won. So I'm going to just keep them vibes going. Total CYA pick to go with the same vibes that I went with last week. But also, if it happens to be a total flip around, guess who still gets a win in the books? Sometimes you got a CYA, and that's what I'm on.
And then Vegas is at San Diego. I'm sure we're both on San Diego here, which means we have the same picks, Deej.
God damn.
Do you want to make any adjustments potentially to your picks?
Nope.
The last time I did this, I got fucked, so I'm not touching a goddamn thing. So we will have the same picks, and we'll go down with our ships together. We have Saskatchewan, Vancouver, Colorado, Rochester, Georgia, Buffalo, and San Diego. And those are our NLL Week 16 picks of the week, powered by Kenwood Beer. Now, we call this a callback. Now I'm going to go to NLLstats.com and put in our picks the way we pick them and see how that shakes out following the action. So if our picks go the way that they go, the Wings would drop down to 11th place.
Damn.
Effectively
ending their season.
But if they were to win, they bump up to 9th place with all of our other picks staying the same.
Okay.
So again, must win.
Yes, this is 1,000% a must win for the Philadelphia Wings.
Must win this week. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Deej, we have two paths that we could cross here as we move to the next segment, and it's PLL, obviously. We could go one direction. Shout out Harry Styles. And talk free agency, because some big moves have happened for sure since we last recorded. Or we could go the other direction and speak our minds on the elephant in the room. But while I let you mull that over, I'm going to tell everyone about the PLL app and our PLL App Code. Guys, the PLL app is our go-to destination for all things PLL information, WLL info. It is truly one of my most used apps on my phone. It's one of DJ's most used apps on his phone. Hoots, Chase, we use the PLL app all the goddamn time. It is gamified, so you earn experience points in the app for completing tasks on the daily. It is truly one of the coolest apps to ever come out on the App Store, and the fact that it is for a league that we get to cover and work alongside is super dope. So download the PLL app in the App Store, Google Play Store, and go to the redeem code section on the app. And when you type in OTBPOD, that's OTB pod, you get 500 XP on your account. Again, download the PLL app, go to the redeem code section, type in OTB pod, get 500 XP on your PLL app account. Where do we want to go, Deej? Choose your own adventure in this bitch.
Let's go free agency. I think it's a little more quick hit, and then end on the exponential conversation.
So since we last recorded, the Water Dogs have made a signing, and it's one of the 30% threshold guys, and that is Jack DiBenedetto, goes from the Archers to the Water Dogs through 2026, reunited with Coach Tierney. I like the move. I think Jack has a lot of potential and a lot of talent, and even if he's not playing every week, like that's a guy who can compete and potential potential, fill in for defensive purposes if somebody gets injured. Younger defensemen too. The Water Dogs defense is not old, but like they're in the peak of their prime. A lot of the guys are in that early 30s, late 20s. So this gives you a chance to like almost have a ready-made solution with Jack, with Mercurio, with Marcus Hudgens and Kenny Brower to kind of usher in once guys like Eli Gobrecht, Liam Burns, and the rest of those boys, finish out their career strong with the Water Dogs. You have your defense, your top four, effectively ready-made, ready to go. So I like the move.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that knows how Tierney likes to work, and I think he has good qualities alongside the other defensemen that are in the room. I think that's one thing that some teams get caught up in. And I don't mean like the teams themselves, but I think fans, like a lot of fans get caught up liking a guy. Like if you ask me, I think the Whip Snakes are a little too similar defensively. I feel like they're all kind of just really good cover guys. And they've adapted to kind of playing the other roles that you need in a defense. But like, honestly, when you look at who they have down at Depot, who do you not trust down there to win their matchup one-on-one? Like no one on the Whip Snakes do you think is getting beat one-on-one. They're all great on-ball cover defenders, but none of them are really a great quarterback. None of them are really a great off-ball defender. Like they're good at those things, but they're not great. Like none of them is a Eddie Glazner. None of them is a Jesse Bernhardt. Like they're not those kind of players. So I think a lot of fans get caught up in having an archetype that they really like and then trying to have that spread around their team. You need differences. And I think DiBenedetto goes into that Water Dogs long stick room and add another layer that they don't already have in the way that he plays the game. So I think he just complements what's already there very well.
Ronan Jacoby signs a 1-year deal with the California Redwoods. Redwoods just sniping all the Champ Series dogs out here. I like this move. I love Ronan. I think he's extremely talented, flies under the radar, just puts his head down and goes to work. I think he's a great signing for the midfield for the Redwoods.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about him right before Champ Series started, and while it was going, we were saying he's one of those guys you got to look out for. Ever since he popped on the scene a couple of years ago with his first Championship Series run, that's kind of his thing. He goes to Championship Series and he makes sure he pops out just enough for some team to grab him so he gets a shot over the summer. The Redwoods like what they had to see, but now the cool thing is we have no clue what that's going to look like for him because he's stepping into a brand new offense with a brand new offensive coordinator, and I think he has a true opportunity to shine because he's not going into a space where he's fitting a specific mold for a team that's already been there. He's not trying to be the missing piece that a coach is looking for. They're going in and they're crafting this based off of who they have, and he's there in the beginning to be a part of that crafting process. There's a chance that he influences the offense or a few sets within the offense just based off of what he can do. So I love the opportunities for Ronan here even more than I love them for the Redwoods.
I like him in the midfield and being able to play with Ryder. I like that potential there a lot. The Utah Archers made some splashes, some new guys on the squad, both through 2026. Richie Connell and James Shipley, the brother of Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl champion Will Shipley. And I was talking to somebody today, and I don't know how I pulled this out of my head at the hour that I did, but I was being asked if James and Will were the first NFL PLL brother duo. And I was thinking, and I was like, that sounds right, but I feel like I'm also like forgetting something. And then it clicked. And obviously the first was JT and Joe Giles Harris. But the second, as far as I'm able to conjure up, of NFL PLL brother duos, as James Shipley joins the Utah Archers.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's another off the top of my head. I'm not finding one.
The only other combo is Zed Williams has done both.
Yeah, yes, Zed Williams is in fact both James and Will Shipley.
He is both JT and Joe Giles Harris.
He isn't what Nakai wanted to be. I'm talking shit. Love you, Kai. Like
him and Chris Hogan.
Yeah, facts. Jared Bernhardt talking to you. Like Dylan Hess. Hello? Ricky. Hey, yo, Ricky.
Hey, Rick.
Liaison.
Good signings there. Some young guys for the Archers. I like that for them. Not a signing, but a retirement that kind of surprised me a little bit. Jake Pulver calls it a career at the age of 28.
That was more than just surprise. Like it honestly was shocking. Like you said, he's kind of in that athletic prime of his life. I don't think anyone expected him to hang the cleats. He was not someone who wasn't getting time on the field. He was very well respected in that Cannons locker room as well. So to see him kind of go, hey, yeah, you know what? I'm good. Like it kind of was like, whoa. All right, then I guess we'll see you on the flip. Like it was so random that like it was hard to put words together. Really,
Yeah.
It's kind of just more like maybe he joins maybe one of those what if conversations. Like, what do we see out of him in a couple of years if he would have stayed around?
Mm-hmm.
We have no clue now. But yeah, it really was just shocking.
Something else that's kind of shocking. Our guy Dan Arestia reported early in free agency that Zach Geddes was leaving the Chaos to go to the Outlaws, and that hasn't come to fruition just yet. And I'm not questioning Dan here. Like, Dan's fucking great at what he does with the reporting on these type of things. But it is fascinating that like that hasn't been made official yet.
Yeah, and and I'm sure it will, but like we're all kind of like, I guess we're just asking what's the holdup, not
Is Zach
necessarily
Geddes pulling a Frank Gore?
or did Roy Colsey pull a Atlanta Hawks GM on Jeff Teague and say, hey, you know what, Zach?
Bring that ass here, boy.
We'll see you in Albany wearing red.
It is wild that felt like a huge domino. Like that was the first like players switching teams, and nothing has been formally announced yet. I also find it interesting that it's the two teams that don't necessarily have a social media manager full time, as far as we know. So, but speaking of the Carolina Chaos, we kind of had an inkling that this was happening. We didn't say anything about it because it was technically not really reported, but it was through the grapevine. And Dan reported it this week. Jules Henningberg's headed back to the Chaos. Kind of had a hunch that was occurring for about a month now. And then the boy reports his own free agency. Pulled a Michael Jordan. I'm back. Simple tweet. Easiest tweet ever. As he now is heading on vacation to Peru via his Instagram. Jared Newman is back with the Carolina Chaos on a 1-year deal through 2025 with a simple tweet of, I'm back.
I'm just glad that by the time we got on here, it was not still just the source of Jared Newman. Like it had been confirmed. Because for like 2.5 days, it was literally just, I'm back. There was nothing there to
where you was, bro.
You back where? Where is back? Nothing has been said. But it did finally come through. He is going to be back in red and black, which like we kind of said was going to be the case. Well, you said it would be a domino, which is most likely going to be true. I was more along the lines of I don't think he necessarily fits anyone else's system.
Who would have thought
the
Jake
style
Pulver
of play.
retiring was the real domino?
Facts. Christian Del Bianco getting moved in the NLL was the first PLL domino.
I was kind of surprised that it was only a 1-year deal for Jared, though. I'll say that.
Really? You were that surprised?
I thought he might have gotten through 2026.
I think if you weren't already signed long term, you on a 1-year deal with Roy Cozy this year. You ain't already had 2, 3, 4, 5 years under your belt, bro. You on a 1-year deal.
Jared's got 9 years of pro. This is his 9th
No,
year.
I'm not saying like under the belt like that. Like Blaze's contract is through like 2030 or whatever.
Okay.
Like if your contract doesn't already have those numbers on it, you on a 1-year deal, my guy.
Roy Colsey said, hit the beat, pick up and kill it and kill it.
So, hey, approve it deal. Sign and prove, my baby. What you got? Do you deserve to
Roy
wear
said
the
them loose balls, pick up and kill it and kill it.
I'm just saying, bro. I don't even blame him. If I was coming into a new program, I'd have everybody on a 1-year prove it deal too.
And it's not even Roy Colsey probably that has him on the 1 year. That's Spencer Ford saying, "Hey, we're doing cap maintenance over here, my boy."
Like, hey, we can't afford any of that around here.
Oh, that's funny. Eric Law is back with the Outlaws through 2025. I love that for E-Law. Justin Anderson's contract through 2027 is finally confirmed. There was a report that Nick Grill will be back with the Outlaws as well. It's just not official yet. Sean Scanoni announced his retirement, which was kind of a shocker as well. Wishing nothing but the best to Sean. He was always great to us in press conferences and just around PLL weekends and everything. So wishing nothing but the best for Sean. And then the big one, as reported by ESPN, former New York Atlas, former California Redwood, Rob Pennell, through 2026, has signed with the Maryland Whipsnakes. And I just got to say, and this is no slight to RP3, a legend of the game. People trying to say that this is Tom Brady going to the Bucks. What are we talking about? Are we watching the same league?
There's folks out here saying that for real?
Oh, I seen it with my own 2 eyes, big dog. I was flat. My gasps were flabbered.
I would have pulled one of them.
And I respect Rob, and I still think Rob is playing at a very quality level. But this ain't no Tom. Rob's not going there and being the missing piece for the Whipsnakes to win a championship.
I'm trying to figure out why.
And I also don't agree with people saying this is Shaq to the Celtics. Because there were multiple people. What up, TikTok? This is not Shaq to the Celtics either. I firmly disagree with that.
Hey, bro. Bro, that's diabolical.
Scotty was saying that shit. I said, bro, you gotta chill, man.
Dog, that is so funny.
First of all, Rob not even changed his number like Shaq did with the Celtics. So your argument's invalid just from an aesthetics look. First of all.
Facts.
Second, I would say it's more I don't know. Shaq tail end of Miami. Shaq in Phoenix. Like, that's the same age Rob is now, was what Shaq was in Phoenix. Like, would it shock us if Rob makes an all-star game this year?
See, I think maybe Shaq in Miami might be the play.
See, I felt like Shaq in Miami was him leaving the Atlas after the bubble and saying, I'm getting the fuck out of here. That was him leaving the Lakers and going to the Heat.
Oh, shit.
But, like, from comparison's sake to comparison's sake, like, Shaq's age 36 season was his first full year in Phoenix, and he made the All-Star game. Would it shock us if RP3 is an All-Star
Nope.
this year with the supporting cast that the Whips have? No. I think it's more Shaq to Phoenix than Shaq to Boston.
Yeah, Shaq to Boston is kind of just
Crazy.
Disrespectful. Kind of just disrespectful for real. That was out of pocket.
But it's also not Tom Brady to Tampa Bay.
No, no, it is not Tom Brady to Tampa Bay either. It's like my thing with that is, what do you do with
TJ?
Do you put him on the wing?
Does that give? I was gonna ask you, being more the X's and O's of the show, like, does that give Staggs and Drew Snyder the ability to let TJ attempt to be more versatile that way?
I think TJ's been versatile as fuck.
Agree.
I think it just like I said, like, no disrespect to RP3. The Woods fans that were like, oh my God, no, why did we do that? We should have got rid of X, Y, and Z. No.
It's made sense for both parties.
I love Rob. Don't get me wrong. Like, I've had great conversations with Rob. He's treated us with the utmost respect. Is always great to us in press conferences and everything. He's a great player on field. It literally has done unforeseen things, like that little fucking twist, like backhand twister behind the back thing he did, roller. Like, that was one of the greatest lacrosse shots we've ever seen in our lives. And it was this past season. Like, he still has all the skill in the world, but he is a one-dimensional style player. He's not one-dimensional player. He can shoot, he can pass, he can use both his hands, he can dodge. Like, he can ride, he can do all the factors of lacrosse. But he can only play them from X. You can't move him up to the midfield and have him do something. He doesn't operate from the wing as well as he does. Like, he is an X attackman. So you kind of have to put him at X attack. Currently, that role's been played by TJ Malone for the Whip Snakes, but where do you move him? I think TJ's the guy to move, and you put him on the wing. Anybody else that you're going to use down at attack now has to be shifted to the midfield, and you find a role for them there. But the bigger piece is now the Woods offense is a little more open because you're not constricted to that traditional X attackman look. Like, they could completely abandon that, and they could just do a three across look where they have Westberg in the middle and they have two wings. Mm-hmm. They could choose to still have an X guy, but maybe he floats a little more and doesn't play so much at X,
which like could be Jackson.
With Rob, Jackson which could be like there's so many opportunities now. Like, you can have an X guy in your set that doesn't live at X. TJ Malone is a great example of that. Jeff T, a great example of that. But you look at Michael Sowers, great example. But then you look at Eric Law. You look at Rob. And even if you want to throw Asher in there, I think Asher's a little very like X attackman. Like, they have an older style game to them where you get it to X is the play. You get it to X every time you bring it down and you run from there. Right off the end line, your X attackman is dodging. Like, that's a Rob Pennell style offense. That's what the Woods have been running for the last 4 or 5 years. Newsflash, it ain't been fucking working. What's the definition of insanity? Let's not let the Redwoods be insane. They're
Philadelphia
moving on.
Wings. That's the definition of insanity right now.
They're moving on from that, and they're going in a new direction. And they were able to find a spot for Rob to go as well. So like both pieces get something out of this. The bigger piece is that Rob, because it's free agency, they didn't get anything in return other than opening up their offense and their style and their roster. Rob gets to go to a space which unfortunately is open due to an injury, but it is open, and now he gets to still play his position in a team that has an offense more suited for his style of play.
Well, it's not even open due to an injury. It's open due to trading a player that unfortunately got injured because Zed's on the Water Dogs. And now here's their roster too, to kind of just put in perspective for the Whips. I also find this interesting immediately, and I don't know if this is one of those just carryover things because he was on the Redwoods. Rob Pennell's listed as a captain on the Whip Snakes.
I would imagine that's a carryover thing.
Imagine that was in his contract.
That would be crazy. Like, hey, no matter what, he's got to be a captain.
Apparently, this was not the only team pursuing Rob. There were multiple teams, including the Carolina Chaos, including the Philadelphia Water Dogs, that were openly pursuing Rob Pennell, and he chooses the Whip Snakes. So this is their attack group right now on the PLL website and on the PLL app, Deej. It's Matt Brandow, obviously from the Zed Williams trade, TJ Malone, Rob Pennell, Matt Rambo. And then here's your midfield group. Levi Anderson, Channy, who's still technically a free agent, Ryan Conrad, Tucker Dordovic, who obviously sustained that horrific jaw injury last season. We don't know when he'll be back, if at all, this season. Colin Heacock, Jack Corus, Garrett Ledman, Adam Patra, and Brad Smith, who's now back. That's kind of your offensive unit there in terms of players for the Whips. I don't know about you. I would say almost locks to make the team. Brad Smith, Patra, Conrad, Levi, and Channy. I don't know if Colin's a lock. Like, Colin Heacock didn't thoroughly impress me last year with the Whip Snakes per se. Like, he was fine as a complimentary player. He only had 9 points, though. 9 points and 9. He averaged a point per game. Not great. It's not a lock that he makes the team, especially with draft picks and everything. Jack Corus is still young enough that I think he could end up, making the squad and everything. He also didn't play like a full season last year, so he could have opportunities in training camp. But that Whip Snakes offense is going to be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, I think the bigger thing is first we have to find out who's on it, and then we have to find out, how it's going to look together. But I would imagine that the attack is going to be Rob, TJ, and Matt. And then from there, how does the midfield mix with them? Who gets the runs on with what group of guys? And who's on first line, who's on second, all that kind of stuff. And just, do they choose to go slow? Do they choose to go fast? And how much of the offense is run through Rob are kind of the big questions right now for that offense.
Yeah. So those are the free agent signings. I don't think I forgot anybody, and if I did, I apologize. We'll touch on it next week if we did. But the elephant in the room, if you will, kind of a bombshell, to say the least, and to put it very lightly. Nat St. Laurent has resigned as head coach and GM of the Redwoods. We'll get into his replacement at the GM spot in a little bit, but if you've been listening to this show since we started it, you know that Nat St. Laurent has a very special spot on this show and at this company for a multitude of reasons. He has believed in me since the moment we met. He's believed in Deej since the moment they met, and has been an avid supporter of everything we do, not only on this podcast, but just in life in general. And this probably sounds like we're like talking about somebody who's like in the great beyond, but it's not like that. But it is like one of those things where like Nat has been there for us for so many things, not even just this podcast wise. Like one of the things that will always stand out to me is in 2020 when my dad was in the hospital with Miss Rona, and getting messages from Nat when my dad came home from the hospital being like, great to see your dad is doing well. Like that to me spoke volumes of just like how Nat perceived me as a person to person relationship. And it wasn't just like I was some, up and coming podcaster media member. And then if you pay attention to any press conference, Nat initially hit me, I believe in 2021, with a KB, how we living, to which that is carried over all the way through to the end of this year in every single press conference. It's a connection with a person who I had no clue who they were until 2019 when I started covering the league. And the bond and connection and the friendship and mentorship and just genuine like person-to-person connection that came to be with myself and Nat, and I know I speak for Deej when I say this as well, like between those two, I am genuinely like forever indebted to that dude for just the kindness, the respect, the support, and the love that he has shown me, not only as a member of the media, but as a person in life, and how he has supported us in so many things, in so many ways. I'm going to miss the ever-living fuck out of that guy being on the sidelines every summer. I'm going to miss the conversations. I'm gonna miss just seeing him on a week in and week out basis over the summer. And I don't know the reason fully. Obviously, I can only guesstimate. A lot of it has to do with Nat is obviously a father and has kids that are getting older by the day, with college visits on the horizon. And when you're coaching in college and then coaching in the pros for as long as Nat has, you miss out on a lot of things. And I think that is something that certainly came into the equation, if I had to guess. Now, mind you, I have no certainty on this. This is just me guesstimating on knowing somebody I consider a friend and somebody that we've been around for quite some time and have watched his kids grow up over the years. I think a lot of it has to do with that. And the fun part is, the relationship that Nat has with me, that he has with Deej, that he has with this show, that will never change. Like his response to my tweet saying like, I'll go in depth more on this podcast about this, because it does sting. He said he can't wait to come back on the pod. So like Nat will not be a part of this show moving forward. Like he's still very much entrenched in the lacrosse community. He's obviously still coaching at the collegiate level, and him coming on this show now is just like three homies kicking it, which is awesome. And I mean, like, he's done things for us that he didn't have to do. Multiple years back to back, coming on after the collegiate draft, long ass day at ESPN. He doesn't have to do that. Did it for us. You say the word, I'm on the show with you. Like, he has looked out for us in so many ways. And, it's in a similar vein to Andy Towers was with us as well. Like, we talked about this when Towers stepped down. Like, those two from the jump were the first two coaches to come on this show and like gave us a shot and like believed in us and wanted to come on the show and continued to come on the show. We're recurring guests. And Nat is somebody who said, hit my line and we'll make it happen. It was truly an anything for you type thing. You know, he gave us the Cole Kastner scoop on draft night. Genuinely a special person who will be in my life for sure for as long as our days go. You know, he is somebody that I look up to, that I trust full-fledged and have nothing but love and respect for. And professional lacrosse, and I think because of the Redwoods struggles as a team over the past few years, Nat caught a lot of the strays that were nowhere close to deserved. And professional lacrosse is growing, obviously, but there's certainly a void with Nat St. Laurent out of the picture now. And that sucks. Same thing with Andy Towers. And again, would it shock me if in the future Nat comes back as a GM down the line in pro lacrosse? Not at all. Because I think he's a damn good GM, because if you're a GM, you got to not be afraid to take risks. And Nat is somebody who would roll the dice on moves year in and year out. And that was in the draft, that was in trades, that was in free agency. Somebody I'll have respect for the rest of my life. I appreciate the ever-living hell out of that guy. And before you know it, he'll be back on this podcast, shooting the shit with the boys. And I just genuinely am going to miss his just inviting presence on those sidelines every single weekend, being able to talk to him after games, hitting them with a how we living after a win. It sucks that like the perspective of the league is almost like reflecting that, like, holy shit, we're getting old, because there's 2 coaches left of the original 6. And both expansion franchises have changed guard in their existence. And it's just wild that we have been able to cover this league for as long as we have, to witness all of this occur. But I shot Nat a text, you know, the night of, and we talked a little bit, and he's in a good place. He's content and like good with the decision, and I'm happy for him. I'm happy for his family, for their next chapter of whatever Nat decides to do, obviously. But from a selfish perspective, I'm gonna miss the fuck out of that guy on the sidelines every summer.
Yeah, I think so. Totally different for me, just in terms of getting into the podcast and the media realm. Like you guys had already had that relationship, so I was kind of sidebarring off of that for a little bit, and then it quickly turned into me being my own personality on OTB, and me being my own person to Nat, and him extending that hand of relationship to me, and getting my number, and us going back and forth with texts and having conversations. Like, he really extended that to me, rather than just, oh, okay, you're KB's co-host. Okay. It wasn't just, oh, there's that guy. It's, oh, what's up, DJ? How are you? What's going on? And then we run into each other at a couple tournaments, and then he quickly realizes, like, oh, okay, this guy spends a lot of his time coaching around the game, watching the game, and we just always were bouncing things off of each other about the game. And I would ask him questions about getting better at coaching and things he saw, what he was looking for in players, and then also just that support you talked about. Anytime I ran into him at a tournament, the very next game I was coaching, I could see him on some point on the sideline, whether it was with the other parents or down on the sideline coaching side. He'd watch a portion of our game and watch me coach and kind of give us that support and everything. So it's something that I'll never be able to show enough gratitude to. Just having somebody there like that to lean on and ask questions and just have that casual conversation with sometimes is huge. And then it really just being the GM and head coach on my favorite team is just a separate relationship. Like, when I brought him stuff, he listened and he was a fan's coach. But he also was a player's coach at the same time. He's a coach's coach at the same time. Like, it's hard to work under, play under, or be a fan under Nat St. Laurent and not like him or what he's doing. Like, you can tell he's putting his full effort into it and he's trying to bring that franchise to the top, whatever it is at that moment. He's doing the same thing with Ohio Northern Polar Bears, doing everything he can to get them to the top of their conference and competing for a national championship. And just I guess the coolest thing for me is that, like you said, our relationship is far from stopping. I know now, probably more than ever, I'm going to catch him at summer tournaments, which means he's going to be, watching me coach. I get to see Jamarcus play, which is going to be awesome as well. And then also, he's pouring into Ohio Northern more. You pay attention at all to the pod the last couple of years, which shout out Dogs. They happen to have taken down the Ohio Northern Polar Bears again this year. That is a running rivalry now, 3-4 years in a row, that the Ohio Northern Polar Bears and my alma mater, Adrian College Bulldogs, play each other in lacrosse every year. So me and Nat have that going with each other. We text about that, and one of us normally sends a text to the other after the game, kind of little brag, and the other one sends a congratulatory, and that's that. Which I think we now both owe each other some opposite school colored gear, but
And
we'll
the
get
funny
around
part
that.
is like you guys have that, and we do the same exact thing whenever the Eagles and Bills play.
Which is so dope because like that's just like the kind of friendship we have is like everything's not necessarily lacrosse, even though it's kind of centered around that. And I'm just happy he's able to go and do the things he wants to do, which he's expressed how much he's wanted to be around his family, and to pour into his family the way his family poured into him. I think his family is a great example of how a family has to pour in when you're a coach. They have to be there. They have to support you. They have to support the team. They have to follow the mantra of the team because that's their life, or at least part of it, a big part of it. And they've done an amazing job of supporting him and following behind whatever mantra of whatever team it is that he's coaching. And I don't expect that to stop anytime soon. But yeah, he definitely was the right coach for the Redwoods at the time, a great coach for the PLL. Would love to see him come back and be a GM, and I'm excited to get a chance to talk to him on pod and pick his brain about leaving and dive a little bit deeper into the the situation at hand, and also find out what tournaments he's going to be at this summer, so I can make sure that my boys are nice and prepped and win us a ring in front of.
Not only are you a reflection of the name on your jersey, you're a reflection of me because that guy's watching.
Hey, well, honestly, they all know who he is. Obviously, like the kids aren't like dumb. So the first time we're down in Columbus, and we're at this tournament, and I caught up to him. I saw him, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's Nat." Okay, what the fuck's Nat doing here? Because mind you, like the Redwoods had just played like the night before, so I'm like, "Hello, what are you doing?" And then so I caught up with him, and he said he flew up, wanted to catch Jamarcus playing before the weekend was over. Also wanted to do a little bit of scouting for Ohio Northern before the weekend was over. So we chatted about that. We chatted about him. Now that he's not a coach anymore, I feel like I can throw this out there. Chase Erlin was always going to be his pick. Even if he had the 5th pick, he would have chosen Chase over Liam.
He's gonna hear this and be like, "DJ, what the fuck?"
Literally. But like dead ass, like I remember catching up with him in the summer, and like we were having that conversation. I was like, "Oh, okay, 5th pick. What's going on there? You got Chris, you got Liam. He's or not Chris, Chase. He's like Chase, Liam. He's like, yeah, Chase is our guy." You should have saw my face, dog. I was like, "What you mean, Chase is our guy?"
I think the funniest thing with that is when the PLL chose home cities and I got my Water Dogs care package sent to me. and I posted it on social and everything, and I have the hat, and I'm sitting here in the studio pointing to the logo and stuff. Nat slides up on my Instagram story and just hits me with an "oh no." ...
Yeah, to finish, my boys ended up because like I had walked away from our tent, didn't realize how long I'd been talking to him. But my team walks by me on the way to our next game. They go, "Oh, there's Coach DJ." Hands me my stick and then goes. They all looked at Nat and were like you could tell they were like a little puzzled, but they were like, "This guy looks familiar." Like they were trying to figure it out. So I wrap up with Nat, walk away, obviously still flabbergasted at the whole Chase thing. Mind, like, how am I supposed to go coach knowing that Chase Erlin's going to be our next goalie instead of Liam Intiman? you want me to go coach now? Bruh, I'm in shambles. So I go over there and coach, and we're warming up and stuff, and right as, like, we're about to get ready for first face-off, like, we're bringing them in, do our little talk before first face-off. Like, 3 or 4 of them go, "Is that coach? Is that Nat St. Laurent, like Redwoods coach?" And I was like, "Yeah." They were like, "You know him?" And I was like, "Yeah, I talk to him all the time. Like I have his number." Like they're like, "What, bro?" Like, and they're like, "Wait." And then he walks over. He's standing right in the corner next to our bench, and they were like, "Oh, look, he's gonna watch our game." And I was like, "Yeah, he told me he was gonna come watch me coach for a bit." So.
He not here for you.
You should have seen them, bro. You should have seen them trying to pop off, thinking he was there for them. Like, don't get me wrong, we had a great game. We ended up winning like 15-2 or something like that. Like, great game, but like they all were just like trying to pop off. It's like, "Oh, Nat's right there." Like
you were like, "It's my turn."
It's my.
I said, "It's my turn."
Not here for you. He's here for me.
So before we get into Nat's replacement at the GM spot, Deej and I were talking over the past couple of days and just thinking of like some fun stuff, and it popped in my brain that we have a voicemail line. And if you paid attention, like I said, to any press conference over the past 4 years, you would know I would start any question I had for Nat with, "Hey, coach, yada, 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 but first things first, how we living?" to carry on the mantra that he hit me with in the beginning. So we are officially going to keep the "how we living" moniker alive and well, and the official OTB voicemail line will now be referred to as the "How We Livin' Hotline," which I think is a perfect, if you know this show, you get the bit, and if you don't, that's okay too. You'll figure it out at some point. Deej, I want to add a wrinkle to the hotline now that we will be referring to it as the "How We Livin' Hotline." I think it's only right because of the whole back and forth of how we live in, that each voicemail, if you call into our voicemail line, has to start with, "Hey guys, hey KB, hey Deej, how we living?"
I think that is.
I think that's how every voicemail,
right.
for us to react to it, you have to start it off with, "What's up, guys? How we living?" or something. You have to say "how we living." That way we keep it rocking and rolling forever.
If you forget, that's okay. We just will only play your voicemail and not react to it. We literally will just let it play and then move on. We're like, all right, and now.
And next voicemail. So anytime you leave a voicemail now, speakpipe.com/OTBLaxPod. Got to start it with "how we living" in some way, shape, or form. It's got to be included. Because I think that's a cool, just like, nod to Nat's professional career, and it's a connection that he had with me personally in the pod, obviously. And then that way we keep it rolling. Even when Nat's not in a press conference any longer, we still get to say "how we living." So the "how we living" hotline, I'm going to make a fucking logo for that shit because that's what I do with this kind of stuff. And you can leave us a voicemail anytime. It's open 24/7, 365, speakpipe.com/OTBLaxPod. And it is now going to be referred to as the How We Live in hotline. And you got to say how we living in your voicemail. But the other part of this, Deej, is that a listener and follower of the pod is now the GM of the California Redwoods still. And that is one of our white whales, Joe Spallina. The swaggiest GM in the entire league? Question mark?
Swaggiest?
That boy got drip.
Why you trying to do Spencer Ford like that?
Oh, that's a good point. Good point.
Like that. You trying to make me pick a side early? We ain't even got enough GMs for me to be like, well, I do like him and him and him, but like they're okay. You ain't even got I can't even do that. It's one or the other. You trying to make me look
that's a
real
good call
bad
by you.
already.
Good call by you.
I ain't trying
I just saw the
get us on
floated out there.
I ain't trying to get us on no GM bad list yet.
I saw the take floated out there, and I was like, "Hey, Joe Spallina do got that drip." I ain't gonna lie.
Yes, Joe is dripped. I am not saying
that's a good call by you because I've seen Spencer. Spencer do got that drip, and he got that salt and pepper beer. He be rocking that shit to the fucking nines.
Silver Fox.
Joe Spallina, named the GM of the California Redwoods. Head coaching search is ongoing. Obviously, Joe Spallina's got experience from his days with the Lizards of running a team. This, to me, Deej, I just want to say congratulations. Joey Spallina is going to be a California Redwood.
Maybe. You trying to say we finna tank to get Spallina?
I'm not even saying tank. I'm saying Joe Spallina, Papa Spallina is going to do whatever it takes to get Joey on his squad.
So tank. Because
trade.
I'm just saying, how low are we expecting him to fall?
Depends on who declares that year, but I would be stunned if Papa Spallina doesn't do what it takes to get future friend of the program and listener of the program, Joey Spallina.
Not that I don't
Redwoods.
Not that I don't think that that's the plan. Like I 1,000% believe that's Joe's plan, but I don't know how low he falls in general. Like,
I mean, could it be one of those things where you guys draft Chris Cav this year and then pull a Denver Outlaws or a Boston Cannons, I should say, and flip Chris to whatever team and try to move up the draft board if need be and get Joey?
Shit. As long as it works better than the last time we did some first round draft pick trading. My bad. I probably shouldn't have brought that up. I couldn't help it.
I find it fascinating that they hired the GM before the head coach or not at the same time. And we don't really know the candidates outside of potentially Stephen Brooks. The Brooksy rules got to come into effect here. We need to know that Brooksy interviewed for this job.
Fair.
He's probably interviewing.
That.
He's not in Japan this time around. Paul's coaching over there. We need Brooksy to get interviewed now.
Well, I'm
also the Brooksy rule.
I'm also wondering, like, did Nat come in and say, hey, like, maybe I don't necessarily want to, like, resign from coaching just yet? Like, maybe the idea was, hey, like, I'll do one more year, or I I can coach, but like doing the GM stuff takes too much of my time. Like, so maybe they were already looking for another GM for whatever the reason may have been. So then they already had one lined. So then when he resigned, it was like, okay, boom, we already have the GM lined. Let's just announce that. And then we can announce that the coach is going to come in XYZ form.
Or I wonder if it was like the opposite. And Nat was like, hey, I'm cool staying as the GM because I won't have to travel as much during the summer. Coaching wise, I might need to hang it up. Joe, interested in some sort of position in the PLL, obviously, still has his job at Stony Brook. Does he want to relinquish that? GM wise, he wouldn't have to. I wonder, like, there's a lot of inner workings that could have come up that we don't have the answers to. I will say this.
I just can't imagine that he would have said, "Hey, I want to be a GM," and they're like, "Yeah, you know what? No, you're not going to do either." Hey, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like if he would have been like, "Hey, I still love being at the PLL, but like coaching and GM is too much. I don't have the time necessarily to coach and travel, but being a GM, being able to be home and still do my things for my college team works great for me." I don't see a reason why the PLL doesn't just shift him to GM and then hire a new coach. So that makes me think that it was something other than that, just because it would make too much sense. Maybe that's why. Because it makes too much sense to shift him over to GM, so maybe that's why it didn't get done. But yeah, I just don't know if I would see him not being GM if he asked for it.
Two things. Number one, I hope Chris Collins gets a fair shot to be the head coach. Not only because Chris Collins is longtime friend, supporter, listener of everything we do, but I do think he's a damn good lacrosse coach as well. And I think he deserves an opportunity to be a head coach in the PLL if he so chooses. Number two, it does suck that the lone black head coach in the league is gone. And now, as of now, there's no minority head coach in the PLL.
Me and Brian were just talking about this, and I jokingly said we may never get one again. Like it was a total joke. But like just it might be a while. Just looking at like the quality of candidates. And then I jokingly said, like, hey, we might not ever get one unless Uncle K18 pops back up. Like, like you're just looking at the quality of candidates that maybe they give Chaz Woodson a shot. Like, there's just not enough talent pool there coaching wise for there to be another African American coach so quickly. It might come years down the line, but it's just tough to call right now. And me and Brian were just going back and forth saying how we were kind of hanging on to Nat being in the game and being, that African American coach and just having that there. Kind of no telling when that's going to come back. I do expect it to come back at some point. This just
Because I'll say too,
up
like
in the air at the moment.
With the Redwoods, like Nat being the coach, like it genuinely felt like black players felt even more comfortable to go to the Redwoods because their coach was black.
Yeah, I think that helps a ton. I mean, obviously, being a black player and a black coach now, it changes things. I haven't had a team full of black kids like, Cass Tech over in Detroit. I would love to coach a team like that where it is predominantly black kids and we're in a different space. But I've been able to pull in 3, 4, 5 black kids in my area and just get them into the game. And I think it really changes. Representation means so much, and it makes it easier when a slur is dropped on the field. It's a lot easier to go to your black coach and say something than it is your white coach.
Mm-hmm.
So I think all of those things kind of make a difference, even at a level like the PLL. I think even Romar, having the struggles he's had, the past 2 years, he feels comfortable or did feel comfortable being in a Redwoods jersey, even when he was making mistakes, knowing that Nat was there to have his back.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Redwoods roster, even now, like Nakai, Romar, Ricky Miezon, Ron John being, indigenous and Haudenosaunee, like BJ Ferrari, like the Redwoods roster is extremely diverse. And on top of that, like, Nat was the lone black head coach in the league. I mean, I think it would also, on top of having another black coach at some point, like, when do we get our first indigenous head coach? I think that also matters a lot in this sport in particular, to have representation, at that level as well, with how many players come from the Native American background.
Yeah, I think that would be huge, and I think it should have happened from the beginning. I don't know, what the nationality cuts are of everyone currently, coaching, or how many people who have applied for coaching jobs have those nationality cuts and things of that nature. Ethnicity is a lot harder to tell than just looking by someone. So we may already have an indigenous coach in the league and just don't know it because we don't know that he has those genetics. But it's one of those things that I think is very important, is to have as much Native American and indigenous um, representation with the sport. Even down to like my high school team, we're having an indigenous heritage night this year. We're bringing in, a local tribe. They're gonna do, some pregame stuff and like all that kind of acknowledgement. So I think it's just important to spread the knowledge of the most important people to the game.
Yeah. If you had your pick of anybody, who would you want to see as the head coach of the Redwoods next?
Maybe Chris or Brody. Chris Collins or Brody Merrill. Think they need kind of a defensive minded coach that then will kind of just turn the reins over to the offensive coach.
So long as
Offensively, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, they'll put in their input, they'll have the pieces there, but then it's kind of like, hey, my offensive coordinator runs my offense, and if I don't like something or I have something to add, I'll add. But I think this team is already so very well built on the back end in terms of goalie, defense, transition. Having a coach with that same mindset can build that, hey, we create our offense on defense mindset using what they have to really bolster and create success.
Now, I don't know if he has any interest. I like the way you're thinking. Promote Chris Collins to head coach, because that gives you continuity of the defense, goaltending, transition, and everything. Joe Walters, offensive coordinator.
That could be solid. I mean, obviously, Deemer Class is somebody I've brought up about being an offensive coordinator. I wouldn't hate Deemer Class being a head coach.
Oh, I would love Deemer to be a head coach.
Like, he's a guy that says and does all the right things in terms of coaching, in terms of playing, in terms of mocking things up.
Does Deemer still live in California?
I am
from
not
when he was coaching at USC.
Not 100% sure on that, because I know that I know he stopped coaching at USC and started doing first class like pretty much full time. So I don't know if he moved back east to do first class or not.
He's in New York.
Yeah, that makes sense, because like first class just seems so East Coast based. But if he lived out in Cali, that would make it almost too.
I know. I was going to say that would make a lot of sense.
Like I said, that's one of those things that's just too much sense.
Yeah, I mean, imagine like Chris Collins with Deemer or Chris Collins with Joe Walters. Like, And from a Joe Walters perspective, like, he's Native American. Like, that would be really cool as well. And he's a former Redwood. Like, bring in somebody who played under Nat as well. And Joe's a fucking legend. Like, I don't think we give enough credit and flowers to how fucking good Joe Walters was in every fucking style of lacrosse. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be fascinating because on top of that, we're still waiting for who the defensive coordinator for the Cannons is going to be, with Kyle Hartzell stepping down like 2 months ago now. We're still waiting on Roy Colsey's staff. So there's multiple openings for PLL coaching in the PLL, like across the board now, with multiple franchises. And I find that super fascinating, as before you know it, draft's going to be here. And if you're a draft pick, I feel like you want to know who your coaching staff's going to be.
Yeah. Like, who am I going to play for?
And I feel like if you're Roy Colsey, you want to know who your staff's going to be. And if you're the Redwoods now, you want to know who your entire coaching staff's going to be. Like, does Chris Collins get retained? Like, I feel like there's a lot that goes into these decisions now, and it's going to be wild to kind of watch it, because Chris Collins is the only coach technically left with the Redwoods now, with John Grant Jr. gone. Nat is now gone. There's a lot of holes to fill. What's that? 5 coaching spots minimum right now, with head coach, offensive coordinator for the Redwoods, offensive and defensive coordinator for the Chaos, and defensive coordinator for the Cannons.
Yep.
That's a lot of open spots, if I do say so myself.
It's a lot of chances for good talent to come in, make a splash, but it's a lot to replace at once.
Mm-hmm. This has to be the biggest offseason coaching turnover, right? Not just head coaches either, just like overall. Like,
just overall. I don't think any sport has seen coaching turnover like this.
Except the NFL.
Yeah, right.
Because that's just a fucking revolving door.
You walk in one team and you walk out another team.
But yeah, it's going to be fascinating. And who knows? I mean, it might even still be a while, because Paul is coaching the Japan All-Stars this weekend. So they're in Japan.
Yep.
There's a lot that goes into it. It's a lot of moving pieces.
Too many moving pieces.
But that being said, congrats to Joe Spallina, listener of the pod. Please come on the show now. We've been wanting you on the show for years. And on top of that, it'll never be enough, but thank you to Nat St. Laurent for years and years and years of support while you were coaching. And thank you for the continued support that we know will be there for us as a show and as people for the rest of our days, because that's just the type of person he is. And we're very thankful for him. And can't wait to see what he continues to do as a dad, as a coach, in the college game, and anything else he decides to pursue. Want to wrap up with college, Deej?
Hey, I think that's my duty here, isn't it?
Our college coverage this week and for the foreseeable future, to be quite honest, is brought to you by our NCAA bracket challenge and bracket coverage for college basketball. And that is brought to you by our friends at FOCO. That's right. FOCO is the presenting partner of Underground Madness 2025. We've been doing Underground Madness since we started this company, and this year we're doing it with the help of FOCO. We pitched the idea to them. They're all on board with it, and genuinely, this is one of my favorite times of the year, one of Deej's favorite times of the year, and it's one of our favorite times simply because we get to collaborate with everyone at the company, which is a ton of fun. Underground Madness means our bracket challenge is back. It means live streams for the next month are going to be back. That means crazy interviews. And Deej, we're on the precipice of getting somebody who is very big in the college game right now, going viral across the board. I don't know if you've seen a little boombox carrier from McNeese State.
Have I?
We are in the works of connecting with young homie.
Don't be saying that kind of stuff to me, man.
I promise you. Underground Madness presented by FOCO, and FOCO is hooking it up. Not only is the winner of the bracket challenge going to receive pretty much a prize pack, a site credit from FOCO in some capacity. They're hooking up the winner, but they're hooking up everybody throughout Underground Madness. So starting on Sunday, March 16th through April 8th, use our link in the description. Use that link. That way FOCO knows you're coming from us. They can see, our link being used, and that helps us tremendously. Use the link. Shop everything FOCO's got to offer. Collegiate, professional sports, you name it, they've got it. When you go to check out, use code underground10 and you'll get 10% off your entire purchase from FOCO from March 16th to April 8th. Again, link in the description. Use the link. When you go to check out, use code underground10. You get 10% off your entire purchase from our friends at FOCO. First live stream is Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Selection Sunday reaction stream. Going to be a ton of fun, powered by FOCO. And Underground Madness 2025 is proudly presented by FOCO. Let's go, man. Presenting partner for the madness? What are we doing? Oh, that's right. We're just leveling up in this thing. Deej, take us through the college weekend preview ahead of us.
All right. Oh, yeah, we switched to sponsor. Never mind. Starting things off at 11 a.m., our boys, Fairfield, undefeated, 16th in the country, looking to keep that undefeated bid rolling. I think they're the only undefeated team left in Division I men's lacrosse, so that's something to keep an eye on as well. Vermont and UMBC will be the first ESPN Plus game we'll get at 11 a.m. Merrimack and Canisius, along with Siena, Sacred Heart, Robert Morris, and Detroit Mercy all popping on. Noon, ESPN Plus, Loyola, Maryland, and Boston U right alongside High Point, Georgetown, Army Lehigh, Duke, and Richmond. Duke and who? Duke and Richmond.
That's Deej's second favorite team, by God.
On me. They're all first face-off at noon as well. Those are all on ESPN Plus. Delaware, Townsend, Holy Cross, Lafayette, Massachusetts, Rutgers, all noon as well. Princeton, Cornell, 2v6 popping off at noon on ESPN Plus. Dartmouth, another very good lacrosse team this year to keep an eye on, taking on Hobart at noon. Penn and Brown, Harvard and Yale at 1 p.m. Michigan and Notre Dame at Michigan, which I might just casually drive down there and go see that game. That's going on 1 p.m. ESPN Plus, 2 p.m. Marquette and Utah, giving us a little bit of some variance here this week. We get Maryland and Virginia, ACC Network at 4 p.m. We get ESPN Plus, UAlbany and Bryant at 7, right alongside Johns Hopkins and Navy at 7 on ESPN Plus as well. Sunday, Ohio State, Denver, 2 p.m., right alongside Jacksonville and North Carolina, 2 p.m. Jacksonville, North Carolina, going to be on ESPN U. Tuesday, St. Joe in Pennsylvania, 4 p.m., ESPN Plus, UAlbany in Virginia ACC Extra at 4 p.m. Manhattan, Syracuse, ACC Extra, 7 p.m. And then ESPN Plus, you get Mass at UMass Lowell, 3 o'clock, and Lemoyne at Navy at 6 o'clock on Tuesday. Marist and Delaware closing out the week on Wednesday as the only game on Hump Day.
Guess what day it is?
It's Hump Day!
Mike. That's us whenever we see Mike Rabel in the wild.
Facts.
On top of that, we got the Japan games this weekend as well. The PLL and WLL All-Star teams playing against Team Japan All-Stars and Team Japan squads over in Japan. A yearly tradition like no other. Very excited for that. Plus, we also got the announcement of where All-Star Weekend is for the PLL. It's in Kansas City, Missouri, July 4th and 5th at the NWSL Kansas City team's stadium that just opened last year. So that should be pretty sweet. But I think that's all we got for you guys on this one. Make sure you are following us on the socials at OTB LaxPod. I'll be at the Wings game on Saturday for Wingston's birthday. So follow us at OTB LaxPod. Follow DJ at SCS_next great. Follow Chase at the PLL Pipeline. Follow Hoots at Hoot Sports Media. Follow me, KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the pod, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave us a 5-star review. It goes a long way for helping this show continue to grow, helps more people find the pod and all of our pods here at Underground Sports Philadelphia. Subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show every week, full video episodes of every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams like Selection Sunday, this Sunday, 6 Eastern. Tune in. Me, Deej. Maybe we wrangle Hoots in. Stevie Mack. Harrison's joining us for the women's bracket. It's going to be a ton of fun. Just the homies shooting the shit about college hoops and reacting live, and we'll see where Deej's Michigan Wolverines are slotted in to the bracket.
To lose in the first round.
Come on, now. Have some faith.
They average 16 turnovers a game.
It's March, baby.
Yeah, you can't have 16 turnovers in a game in March.
Anything can happen in March.
Yeah, like Michigan losing in the first round. Something they probably shouldn't do.
But tune into the live stream. Subscribe to the OTB YouTube channel as well, youtube.com/@OTBLaxPod. Leave us a voicemail on the How We Live in hotline. You know the rules. Speakpipe.com/OTBLaxPod. But you know the rules. How We Live in hotline. Leave us a voicemail. And again, check out Shootout For Soldiers website, shootoutforsoldiers.com/events to find out how to register, donate, get involved, volunteer, and attend any of their upcoming events from the month of May all the way through the beginning of September, and help support our nation's veterans in a really cool and fun, exciting way, and attend a Shootout For Soldiers event. You will not regret it. shootoutforsoldiers.com/events. And this has been the leap year episode number 366 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, and of course, viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box Podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Deej, I'm KB. Enjoy this weekend of lacrosse. We'll see you live on Sunday on the YouTube for Selection Sunday. But until then, we're getting the heck up out of here. We are signing off. Happy birthday, Wingston. Peace.
Peace.